la la la. There we go. Let's talk about today's sponsor, Outsideways.
Outsideways is designed for thru hikers, day trippers, and any other outdoor enthusiasts.
Outsideways is an online adventure journaling platform. I'm going to call it a platform instead of a site.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm on outsideways.com right now.
Hey, me too. One of the things I like about it that I see here is that you can browse by activities. When you first go there, you see all these journals written by people who are doing fun and crazy things in the woods right now. If you click on activities, look at this. It's sorted. You have backpacking, camping, cross-country skiing, cycling, hiking, kayaking.
Order.
Yeah.
Snowshoeing and skiing. Nice.
Yeah. So this is
There too.
So it's.
Ding. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited now.
Oh, that's fine. Good. You should, because it's a pretty cool site.
Adventures. You spend months thinking about them. You spend weeks planning them. Outsideways is the place to collect, share, and keep them.
Hello, hikers. Green Giant here, one of your hosts. Today, on yet another very special episode of Stories from the Trail, we're going to spend some time with one of the most inspirational and positive people I've ever met. O'Ree Crittenden. When a severe spinal cord injury at the age of 29 took away the use of his limbs, O'Ree did pretty much the opposite of what most people would do. Honestly, probably myself too. And instead of resigning himself to a quiet life in a wheelchair, he became even more active. He's continued to aggressively pursue outdoor activities, such as whitewater rafting. He's gone parachuting. He's hiked most of the Georgia section of the Appalachian Trail thanks to a remarkable device called a trail rider and the assistance of some of the biggest hearts the hiking community has ever seen. Can't think of a better word than inspirational. We're going to spend some time together with O'Ree, hear his incredible story, and get ready to throw away any excuse you've ever had to not pursue some goal. Sit back, relax, prepare to be amazed. This is Stories from the Trail. All right, so let's say hi to O'Ree. O'Ree, how do you say your name?
My name is O'Ree.
O'Ree.
O-R-E-E. It's the
Okay.
emphasis on the R. It's French, and
Okay.
I guess it's what do you want to call it? It's
That's the part I was curious.
etymology.
That was the part I was curious about because I've always said it like Ori, like the Oreo cookie, just without that second O.
Yeah. In the South, if you get an O, an R, and E in there, you're doing pretty good.
Now, you and I met at, was it two or three trail days ago? We met briefly at trail days.
I think it was 2016.
I think that's right. Yeah. Because 2015 was the first trail days I went to, and I just participated and partied and hung out in Tent City and, didn't really... I don't want to say I don't remember much of it. No, that's not true. I remember plenty. But and then you and I got to spend some time together at Dahlonega Trail Fest a couple years ago too, and the year before, I think 16 and 17. And this is the first year that I was unable to go because I had other commitments here in Asheville. O'Ree gives a great talk and a great presentation, and he's one of the most. I'm just gonna say it out front. You're one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. O'Ree's a hiker, and he. I don't know if you guys read up on him or know anything about him, but you called yourself a quad earlier today while we were just BSing before we started recording. Quads.
Yeah, a quad representing my paralysis. I'm a quadriplegic, meaning I have paralysis on all four limbs.
All four limbs. So, man, where do we start? Because
Good question.
yeah. So O'Ree has, without the use of his arms and legs, have you finished the Georgia section of the AT yet?
No, actually, we still need to kind of get over Blood Mountain and cross the Georgia line. We set out with an 11-day plan because, that's pretty reasonable to do the Georgia section. Georgia section is what, 78, 76, 80 miles, you want to call it that. So, over 11 days, that's pretty reasonable for an average hiker, 8, 9 miles a day. Not a big deal.
Right.
But we realize, all of us, when we get into it, it's a bit more of an expedition. It's not just hiking and stepping over things. The trail rider creates another dimension, so to speak. So we made it 8 days into the trip. By the 6th day, we had destroyed the brake system. So we felt it safety reasons to not go over Blood Mountain. So we skipped around it. And then we got just about the Georgia section. And there's a few things that was going to be a bit technical that, like I said, without proper brakes, it was not feasible from a safety standpoint. And then with personnel injuries as well. So
right. Now,
when you say are we asking the same question?
I think we're asking the same question. Go ahead.
So, O'Ree, if I'm saying that correctly, when you say we, what group are you with when you're out there hiking?
Okay, now that's a good question. What group am I with? We put this thing together, through Facebook and a GoFundMe to purchase the actual trail rider. So the people I ended up with out on the trail in the middle of nowhere, backcountry, were people that most of them I didn't know or didn't know one another. They were kind of knew each other through maybe hiking, or one knew the other. But there was over half of the 6 people out there. There was only probably 2 that knew each other. I knew Lee, which was one of the guys that helped me organize it, and he knew another guy, and that was probably really it. So we had 6 people out in the woods that didn't know each other at all. So you had this team of misfits. Of 2 of those 5 people that were helping me had never been hiking or camping in their lives, and we took them out on the Appalachian Trail.
Well, that's a way to start.
Yes.
You had been before hiking and camping before.
Yeah, I've done some little section pieces of hiking of like the Appalachian Trail, like back in college. So I got injured when I was 29, so I was about to say my early 20s, but I was 29 when I got injured. So I've lived, my 30s forward as a quadriplegic. So, but that doesn't really slow it down. I still want to get out and do things, and just trying to find the right group of people willing to do it, and finding the right gear to do it sometimes. But, it is always lots of times about the manpower, the friendship, the camaraderie and all that, and getting together and want to do it. Because in the end, I'm definitely going to need assistance if I'm not walking. I mean, I'm not just sitting in the trail rider by any means, because, I'm helping balance, and the fact that, the person walking behind me, when they got the thing at, operating angle, it's down, so they can't see where they're walking. So now I'm having to call out like I'm, driving a mule team, telling them where to step, and there's bumps coming up, and that allows the person in the back to know, okay, they need to lean into it a little bit more and watch where they're stepping, so that they're not, going to snap an ankle or something trying to help the quad up the trail. Because what we're going to do then? We only got one trail rider, so one of us got to stay.
So you mentioned Lee Griffith. Every time I would say the first couple times I met you,
Griffith,
he was
his trail name is the Sherpa Master.
Sherpa Master, yeah.
So that was he was our lead Sherpa that really helped organize it and put the itinerary together. And he and I were the ones that went. Well, we organized the trips and took the thing out on the trail, and got together with my friend Marty Pearson that used to work for Eagle Sport Shares, and then he went out on his own to his own Excalibur wheelchairs, and he helped do the actual modifications on the trail rider for us. I knew in my head what needed to happen, and so me and Lee, we got together with him, and we took it there, and I showed him. I said, okay, here's what I'm trying to make happen. Because the thing was, I didn't want to be a bump on a log out in the middle of the forest, every time we stop, just have to sit there in the trail rider. I want to still be able to move around and camp, It's not rugged, it's not, it's rugged, but it's not impossible to move around, especially at your campsites lots of times, because our plan was to hike between shelters. And, definitely in front around the shelter there's going to be a little bit of area around the fire pit and your eating areas that definitely I'll be able to roll around. So I was like, well, I got to take my wheelchair with me. And I was like, wait a minute, that's an extra 26 pounds.
Yeah, who's going to carry that?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's got to carry that. And we did figure out that the trail rider with me and my gear on it, because, I quote unquote carried all my gear. I carried my tent, my sleeping bag, all my gear. It was under me around on the trail rider. We figured out that thing weighed about 300 pounds, So, and you got two people at least at all times, helping move that. And then we get to certain places on the trail that, we literally figured out that this, for safety reasons in certain situations, that you got to have a minimum of 5 people. That's the 2 that are immediately on either end of it. And then 3 people around it in case you get in a situation where somebody's got to get on the side to hold us up to keep from rolling over. Somebody may need to get down below us to keep things from completely tipping over. Because, everybody in this room is a hiker, I would have to assume. So you all know what kind of angles and tight squeezes and switchbacks we're talking about here. The trail rider at full operating extension, when you put it at operating, it's what, 8 feet long? But it's only 16 inches wide. Well, it's only, my shoulders are, I guess, 21 inches wide or so. That's about, it's inside 18, 20 inches width. But that's the only place that we figured out it won't go. If it won't fit between it won't go. But other than that, it will pretty much go anywhere you're willing to take it.
Yeah, that thing's pretty amazing.
Now, is that a manufactured item? You mentioned modifications earlier. Is that something you had to make modifications to?
I think that is the 3rd or 4th iteration of it, which I guess technically mine would be the 5th or 4th or 5th iteration of it, because it's not the piece of equipment we bought originally. But no, that came from a place I believe is called Toby Cycle Works, I believe, out of British Vancouver. They're the one that actually make it. But we got it through a non-profit there. I need to look at that name. I'm forgetting, it's slipping my mind here. But out of British Canada, Vancouver there, we got it from them. And actually, technically, it was given to us as a gift, because that meant we'd have to do the whole embargo, taxes, and all that craziness. So my friend that helped organize it, Chad, he happened to be flying out there dealing with something, and that put him right there in the Northwest. So he's like, I just hop a plane. So he just hopped the plane over, and I told him, I said, well, the trick is tell him that it's medical equipment. Then you don't have to pay freight on it. So we didn't have to pay any borrow freight on it, which saved like $800, almost $1,000 right there. So we got it back into the U.S. and we got it flown back to Georgia, and then, what the money I raised, I finally had to, we got it wired back to them and everything. And so that saved us about $1,000 right off the bat, which turned around that we needed everything we were going to have to have. Penny, we had to, get me geared up and get the trail rider rigged up. So, it was an original piece of equipment. Yes, to an extent. And then we added, like I said, a place to add wheelchair tires on the rear of it. The front of it, we changed that we could pop on a center wheel, creating a 3-wheel vehicle for, in camp there. And that way you can disassemble the front outriggers there. That's where the person up front helps pull. You can take those off, and, then it'd be, semi-move around. I'll push it around. I'm a quadriplegic, but I'm a high, fairly high functioning quad, but there's, still, it was, it definitely made me not be a bump on the log out in the middle of the woods, which is, that was what we wanted, So we had to carry a set of off-road tires, which still probably weighed about 12 pounds, I guess, as opposed to 26. So we cut the weight by a third, I guess.
So I guess that's technically ultra. Is that ultralight or super ultralight? I forget which is.
Yeah,
that's that. Well, what I roll in technically every day is they call it custom ultralight. So anything that attaches to it is pretty ultralight, except for them off-road wheels. They are not ultralight at all.
Well, while you were describing that, Gamera in the chat put a link that shows. There's an article from Mountain Crossings at Neil Gap, and then I put a picture in the chat too. So that if anyone's in the chat room right now and they take a look, you can see the pictures of this thing we just uploaded.
Because it's hard to describe. We kind of come down to starting to describe it as a glorified off-road rickshaw.
Okay, and there's a picture of you and the gang sitting at Springer Mountain. Everybody looks happy. It looks like a nice day. I'm curious, has anyone ever given you any crap about taking a wheeled vehicle on the trail that's footpath only?
Yeah, the Trail Conservancy, if you want to be honest.
For real? What did they have to say about this?
They, well, because, there's no wheeled vehicles allowed on the trail for one. So, and definitely no power vehicles. So that was out right off the bat, which I had no desire to take a powered vehicle down the Appalachian Trail. I just think that, the whole theory of it and leaving no trace and all that, that's just kind of, that'd be wrong. So, I mean, there's certain sections don't even allow a horse on. I mean, come on. So,
okay.
Yeah, so, I was down with that. But the Trail Conservers, they called to be like, do you guys know what you're getting into as far as, the terrain is what they were asking. But it's like, I had people in the planning group that, were hikers. I had a through hiker in the actual planning group that had done the entire trail. It took him a couple tries because he had an injury or two, but he's done the whole, he through hiked it. So we knew definitely the entire Georgia section knew it front to back. I've been on a few sections of it. None of the crazy technical that some of that I did see, but I'd done some of the like, oh yeah, there's stairs out here in the middle of the woods type stuff, like around Amacola Falls and that type thing. So I knew going into it that it was definitely going to be not a complete walk in your local park. I knew that. But I was down for what you get to see and experience, being out in the backcountry, depending on only what you brought with you. I love primitive style camping, and the more primitive, the more better, as far as I'm always concerned.
That's awesome. What was that? What was that first day like with the whole crew on the trail?
First day we all met up. We had to pause and let the military do their training, and then we got to make it up to the Springer Mountain parking lot that first night, because we came up that first night and just went up to the top and slept and camped out at the Springer Mountain campsite there, and then the next day was actually when we started and went over to where up to the actual first blaze was. So that first night it was, we get a little bit of taste of just pumping up that, I guess it was a mile and a half or so maybe up there. It wasn't too bad from there, but it gave you a taste like, oh, okay, this is kind of what we're going to get into, and realize, okay, it's going to take a little bit more oomph than the bumping around that we did when we had, test run it, even at like Flat Rock the first day we got it. We was like, oh, it's not really bad at all, because Flat Rock is one of our local parks, which, as it states, Flat Rock is big granite slates of rock that kind of jut up out of the ground. So, we got out there, we walked around over some 3 and 4 foot drops and things like that of that nature. And it was like, okay, it's not that bad, because in general, the trail rider is fairly well balanced. It moves and it's nimble. So it's not really fighting you. The machine itself's not fighting you. You're usually, it comes down to the terrain that you end up having to fight. Yeah.
It's got the one big wheel that's right under you, and then just like, is it one small one up front, or is it just the one?
No, it's just the one big wheel. I mean, that's why I say, that meant, that means it always has to have two people on it when it's going to be moved. It's either on the kickstand or two people are on it, I mean, you can sit there with it on the tire, or one person just maintaining the balance of it with it set down on the front outriggers, because it's, it'll balance like that. But yeah, for safety reasons, if it's on the tire, usually always had two people.
You mentioned back at the beginning that there was a Kickstarter involved in getting this thing going. Do you mind if I ask how?
Together, and I think it came to fruition in like about 3 months if I look back at it. like it started out, the first couple of weeks fairly slow. I mean, I got a fairly good large network of friends that I've known over years from my music background and my school music background and all that. So I actually have a group on Facebook that I call Scene, because before I started working, I was back out, just kind of hanging out in the bar, listening to bands, and I helped a friend of mine get an open mic night started here at a local bar, because he's just an old water hippie. He didn't know anything about technology, nothing like that. So I helped him get a Facebook going and get his live Facebook page going and open mic and all that. And it's fun. It gave me something to do. So that's kind of, I had a lot of following from that. So within the first probably 30 days, I think I had about $5,000, and then all of a sudden we got like what I like to call an angel, like an angel donation of like $10,000.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and once we got the $10,000, we're like, okay, we got enough to buy the trail rider. We're going. Whatever. If we don't get the other $5,000 together to make it happen, we'll make it happen, because we like at that point we thought we had enough to really make it happen. Come to find out, we probably spent almost $10,000 with the trail rider just getting it rigged up.
And you mentioned
having to add on the outriggers and the tires and changing the grips on it. They it came with like these foam grips that were pretty nice and soft and cushy, but we found out in the first test trip on Pine Mountain that once you get hot and sweaty, they just slide off. So they weren't of much use.
You mentioned a couple of iterations. How much of that Kickstarter went to, I mean, was it for development, or did you already have the blueprints for this thing? Did you know what you were going to build, or was that all part of the game?
No, we just got the trail rider in its original form and took it out to Pine Mountain the first time and realized I wanted especially the thing about having to sit around on camping. I was like, yeah, that's not cool. I don't want to just be stuck on it. Because when we went to Pine Mountain, we took my chair with me, and that's when we realized, wait a minute. Yeah, that's really not feasible, because have somebody to bring, because basically, we got to Pine Mountain, it was a mile in or something like that, mile and a half into our campsite, so it wasn't far, and somebody just, brought the chair in. But yeah, that means somebody's got to carry a chair in, for miles and miles and miles. So that's when we realized that wasn't going to be feasible. So we added the axles in the back. Mm-hmm. But then we took it out a second time, and it got caught on like a tree and rock a couple times. So I realized, okay, I dropped the axles down there, but now they're just sticking out from the side, so they're creating catch points. So we had to go back, and I added the angle bars, which basically became rock sliders, but they were reinforcing the axle, because I was like, I was worried about it getting bent from it getting caught all the time, but it turned out that those turned into beneficial rock rider lots of times once we were out on the actual Appalachian Trail, because you get in some spots where the back tire would have just going to pinch, or it was just stuck down in the rocks, but they get caught on those side outriggers, and we just kind of be able to skid it over across the rocks to keep it moving. Yeah, it took quite the beating. I cannot believe that we didn't break anything besides the brakes and someone's knee maybe.
Hey, it's not a party unless someone gets hurt. I mean, at least on the trail, there's always going to be an injury. A blister, or it's a scrape. I mean,
talk about scrapes my forearms, like on the trail ride. Like I tell you, I'm not just sitting there. I'm calling out. I'm helping balance. I'm fighting against gravity and things. And we noticed about 2 or 3 days in, I bought these Rash Guards because I was like, man, I feel like my skin's probably going to get a little roughed up there. So I pre-bought these Rash Guards for like, bikers, hikers, and, people that they don't want to wear a shirt, but they want like a rash guard on. Well, I noticed that I got the Rash Guard down and I was pretty rashy under there. Broken up, skin just open. I broke off the cups that hold your arm, or supposed to hold your arms into place where you hold on to the arms of the trail rider there. I broke those, broke one of them completely off, just, ripped the welds out of it from me banging on it so bad. But yeah, I opened up both my forearms over the trail over those 8 days.
Are you going to continue using the Rash Guards, or are you going to try another way of protecting your arms?
We had to completely reconstruct those cups. That we went back and redid them out of a thicker metal and everything, and so they've been redesigned, and we're trying a different kind of padding, a little bit thicker. We'd already put the thicker like neoprene, I guess you want to call it. Yeah, exactly what you call it. But pretty, I guess about a 6 mil we had in there. So we're probably going to go, 8, 10, try and just pad it up a little bit more. Basically doubling up the first time and see how that works and go from there.
There's a lot of customizations.
So instead of blisters, now you get saddle sores?
Yeah, pretty much. That's one of the things, you have to address with the trail rider for different people that are going to have different injuries. Like me, it's definitely custom as far as even the seating on it goes. I don't really do anything to the back padding of it too much because that wasn't overly a concern of mine. The only thing we probably addressed with my upper back was, like, once again, the neoprene. My background in wheelchair rugby. When you're in the rugby chair, you're strapped in and you use the neoprene because we're all quadriplegic. So, none of us have, any true trunk balance of any kind. So you're faking that by, strapping yourself to the wheelchair, the upright to the back of it. So that's what we did with Trail Rider to give me enough balance. And then, having my arms and being able to hold on and use them for what balance I do. I mean, I'm a quadriplegic with paralyzed and all 4 arms, but, I have muscles essentially from my shoulder to my elbow. I don't have the fine motors and the your triceps. Like if you were to take your hand and stick it straight up in the air and then bend it at the elbow and pick it back up, I can't do that motion because that's what your tricep in. But unfortunately, it's also what helps you kind of lift yourself up and push yourself up. So, that's the biggest difference between me and, say, a para per se. Mm-hmm. And obviously then down to the fingers because I don't have any finger movement. So.
Now you said rugby. So I assume you mean like the sport. We're talking rugby. The sport with the real wheelchair rugby. Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, wheelchair rugby. There's a little documentary called Murderball, which is the original name of wheelchair rugby.
I've heard of that. I think I watched that way back when.
Yeah, back in the 90s when they started trying to get, sponsorship and trying to get more popular. Nobody's going to give them money for something called Murderball. So they renamed it Quad Rugby. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Quad Rugby or wheelchair rugby. But it's essentially gladiators with a volleyball. I mean, you got a point system in there, and it goes from 0.5, 3.5. Your 0.5 is going to be the one with your lowest function, which I'm a 1. So I'm, basically your next to lowest functioning quad on a quad rugby team, and you got your 3.5, which that's a quad that he might have triceps and probably got some kind of hand function, like he can probably pick up the ball and grab it. But he's still paralyzed in all 4 limbs, so he's got weakness in all 4 of them. So that's the sport ends. Each team is broke up into 4 players, and we play it on a basketball court, a regulation basketball court. And then there's what you call the key, where the goal is up under each goal at the end, which is about essentially 8 feet wide and about 3 feet deep, 3.5 feet deep. I have to give it to you in inches to give you the true measurements, but and that's you going trying to basically playing kill the man with the ball. I mean,
rugby's a pretty aggressive sport.
You try and pass it. You're trying to stop the other guy, and I mean, there's hit spills. We play with no helmets or pads because. What do we need those for? We already broke our necks.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Wow, because rugby is not a gentle sport at all.
No, and wheelchair rugby is not a gentle sport. I mean, if you ever watch any wheelchair rugby, like the Murderball is about the 2004 Olympic team, because the U.S. team is pretty much. It was a sport that was invented in the kind of, I guess, mid-late 80s, right around the Canadian-American border. So Canada and U.S., they've always had this real rival, like a worldwide rival. They've got the best teams in the U.S. It's pretty much always been the top team, since the sport came into existence. I mean, like top world team. So it follows the 2004 Paralympic team all the way to the Olympics. Yeah. But what makes it very unique when you watch it is the perspective is better done. So we're kind of referring to the one gentleman I was chatting with before we started. We had an AV foul. They shot it and they made sure to shoot everything from sitting in a wheelchair.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't realize.
So are you still playing that right now? Like you play that regularly?
Murderball. Yeah, there's teams throughout the U.S. We got them. Yeah, definitely coast to coast. There's only one in the state of Georgia. It's in Atlanta. It's the Shepherd's Smash. Like, they hadn't been to the Rugby Nationals in, I don't know, 10, 20 years or something when I was playing with them. And then, like, the third year I was there, we made it to Nationals as a D2 team. We got so
the reason
good.
I ask is I'm wondering what if you're still playing rugby, what your other friends, your rugby peers think about you going out in the woods and tackling the AT. Well,
I haven't played in about 6 years. I had to have shoulder surgery. I had to give it up. It's either keep playing rugby or keep moving. But they, there's some mixed opinions because they're kind of like me. Like, exactly when I was approached with the trail rider, I was like, I don't want to just be sitting there. I would like to be able to do something and participate. And then after the few test trips with the Pine Mountain, I was really convinced that you're doing the AT. I was definitely down. Because I wasn't really just sitting there. I was having to, help ensure people weren't hurting themselves or I wasn't getting hurt type thing. So there's mixed opinions about your level of input and doing the activity as opposed to just sitting there and people dragging you through the woods, defining that. So, and I justified it down to when I was able-bodied and hiked and camped and did things like that. I take people out in the woods with me all the time and, drag all their gear and stuff, I hiked a 90-pound pack many times, because I was carrying all the gear for me and another person or two because they'd never been hiking, we going 3, 4, 5 miles down into the woods before we even think about camping.
Did you say 90?
They're not
90 pounds?
They're not going to make it. So, you're hauling all their gear for them. So essentially you dragging, someone through the woods. I mean, I've done that, and I've actually literally dragged someone through the woods because when I was in college one time, we come across a youth expedition trip from UGA that was rappelling a waterfall around Amicola Falls, right around Helen, Georgia, I believe it is. But the girl had fallen from the top of the falls, and I finally got report was she broke both of her lower legs and her upper leg when she made the fall. So I helped, back at the time I was really physically fit and, doing swimming every day and working out 5-6 days a week pretty much. So I'm out on this camping and hiking trip and I had to run from these waterfalls like a mile back out to my car because at the time I actually had a car phone to call 911 to, get help out here. So I call out there, I run back in and I was like, okay, I'll call for help. It's like, why did you wait? I was like, well, what do y'all know how to call for help? So I ran back out for the ambulance and I helped them run all their gear back in. I went back out to the ambulance like 3 times. We didn't get out of there. I remember like 4 o'clock in the morning. We had to rig up like this, like a rope rig, and we had to climb up all these vines around the side of the waterfall and, drag the like the board they put you on, except this was an off-road version. So it's like a cage. We drag that up to the top of the thing through the vines. We get that up there. We run the lines, rig it up to the top of the waterfall, run it out across the waterfall, get it tied off the other side. Because unfortunately, she's down in the waterfall. There's a pool below it, and the other side is up the cliff to get back to the trail. So we got to run a line over it and get her down. I guess what you call a Z line, from what I remember, to get her up and basically rig her up and trolley her back over onto the trail. It was very intense. But me being overly prepared, they were like, we need to warm up these fluids. I was like, I got you. Because I got lighter fluid, like flat lighter in my fanny pack. Yeah, I run with a fanny pack when I don't have my backpack on. When I don't have my hiking pack, I always have my fanny pack.
Those are coming back in style now.
Flat lighter, starters,
I swear.
anything you need on you. Yeah. So we started the fire for them, get the fluids warmed up. That was an experience. But we helped haul her out of there on that stretcher, that off-road stretcher, and it had like an off-road AV tire up under it. It took hours to get her out of there. It was insane. Very intense.
Referred to as a litter in stories of some of the mountain rescues that are up here in the Whites.
Yes. Yeah.
Small, because they really have to be very narrow in order to fit into small areas. So you really have to strap a person to it.
Yeah. exactly. But that thing that she had that night, I remember that stretcher thing. It was narrow, but it was wider than Trail Rider. I remember that because it was some of those trails were 8 inches wide. As you get your foot on width across it, not 2 feet. You're not putting them side by side many times. It was intense. It was intense.
All right, so you made reference to this a couple times today. You talked about things that you've done, in your words, when I was able-bodied. And back in the beginning of the show, you mentioned that you were injured when you were 29. And
29, yeah.
29. How old are you now?
I am 46.
You say 46?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're pretty close to the same age. Would you mind sharing the story of your injury and talking about how that happened? And I have a couple more questions about that, and then I want to open it up for Q&A. But if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about the injury?
Okay.
However much you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's kind of part of my job as a Pierce reporter. My injury, I have a spinal cord injury. That means obviously there's injury to my spinal cord itself, but I'm a quadriplegic, so mine is a cervical in my neck section, the C level. I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic, and that occurred like back in 2001, back down in Pensacola, Florida. I was just down for a kind of quick getaway weekend before I went back to school, and I was there on the beach hanging out with this group of friends. I used to have something called the Bar Olympics or whatnot, a lot of local breweries. They invite me down. I was like, you're not doing anything, you're hanging out. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll go hang out. It'd be fun. It'd be a free trip to the beach, right? So I'm hanging out, and then, it's kind of next day, everybody's kind of licking their wounds from partying the night before, and I'm hanging out on the beach wrestling with the guys. We're doing cake tosses and things like that. And I see this kid, he keeps flying his kite running up and down the beach with this kite. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I love kites, man.
Yeah.
The real kite flyer, the kid, I once, flew an airplane from Jersey to Maryland to buy a dragon tail kite. That's, I love kites.
Wow, you're into it.
Yeah. No, I was like, I could take them and make them dip. And, my favorite things, like take them like an eagle coming down to get your prey. You make it dip and you bring it down to the ground. There's always the ground. You snatch it back and make it turn back up. With a dragon, you bring it all the way down, that tail comes down, and if you're good, you can bring it down and whip the tail to the ground. I can do that.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I was watching this kid run back and down, and I was like, I'm bored. Some people are, they're licking their wounds and they're having more drinks. I'm like, I'm really not into that, whatever. So I asked this kid's mom, I was like, you mind if I take him out onto the dock there? We'll walk to the edge of the dock. You'd be a few feet up. The wind's blowing better out there on the water. And we can fly his kite. She goes, sure, why not? Well, I'll walk down there with the kid with the kite. We get out to the end of the dock, and, basically I just hold it up like this. We're in the wind already with the waves. It starts flying. The kid's like, glee on his face. I was like, all right, let it out some. But, I've been running back holding up 3-4 feet of string, I was like, no, it actually flies. Let the string off. So he keeps letting the string off. And me, not thinking in the back of my head, is like, oh, yeah, this kid's never flown a kite. It's not tied to the spool. He keeps letting the thread off. Eventually it flies out, out into the surf. And I was like, oh, it's not that bad, because it kind of went parallel. So it's about 60 yards or so out. I was like, that's not too bad. Just out to the break where the sandbar is. And I knew what the water was. I've been wrestling it with the guys already. So, and I knew it was about, not quite waist deep. So I was like, okay, I looked off the side of the dock there. I was like, oh, okay, it's about waist deep still. I'm looking at it. I know that. I was like, okay. So I jump off. I'll swim out, grab the kite real quick. Well, last thing I remember was looking over the rail, throwing my legs over. I woke up in the hospital, 9-11 days later, out of a medical use coma. So, yeah, that's a short version of a long story.
Yeah,
but.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because I remember the first time you told me that story, what struck me about it was that, and I've said this before to, I've told you and I've told other people, you're one of the nicest and happiest guys I know. And the fact that this happened to you while you were doing something nice for someone, that I think that's just, I don't even know what word to say about it. It just gets, I'm speechless. It gets me,
You know, nice people are nice people. You know, I try to be a nice person because, you know, but my belief is, you know, at the bottom of all religions there's one true factor. You know, don't be a dick. You know, be nice to other people. Treat people how you want to be treated. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind me asking, you know, again, you can tell me to just, you know, this is none of your business at any point.
I forgot that it was a PG podcast, brother.
Oh no, this is we're a soft R here, so you can drop F-bombs if you need to. And we are definitely going to talk about poop later.
Okay, we're on the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, again, you know, tell me to buzz off, or this is, you know, none of my business. But, you know, I want to know about your just a little bit about the recovery process. You know, what was going through your mind when you woke up and they gave you this news, and how long was it before you got back in the mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to continue being awesome. This isn't going to slow me down. What was that transition like?
I'm a broken person apparently, because there wasn't much of the emotional type recovery, I guess, because I don't allow weakness in myself. I woke up, and the only time I cried with any concern to my paralysis was because I could not speak to my granddad because I still had a tube down my throat, so that I could tell him, don't worry about this, we'll be all right. Because that is truly how I felt. I came to, I saw the halo over my head, and I was laying there, I couldn't really move, and I was like, what have we done this time?
This time.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the year before that, broke my shoulder. Like, I had a 80% fracture in the ball socket of my scapula and a 75% tear in the clavicle. And I rehabbed that thing. Like, I just basically gotten released from rehab on my shoulder maybe a month before my spinal cord injury.
Oh, man.
Like, the last thing I did, I was in Athens, Georgia. I've been hanging out. You know, I gotten released, and so I was working out at hanging out in my friend's apartment there, helping him, you know, polish the heads of his motor, and, you know, using his gym and doing laps in the pool, just working on my shoulder, trying to get myself back, you know, back in fighting shape, basically. And,
your kite flying, back in the kite flying shape.
Yeah, exactly. You know, trying to get back in fighting shape. So, you know, last thing I did was, I remember we was in there you know, they all work out. And, you know, I'm working out for a purpose. They're just working out to work out and, you know, and make their muscles look big to look good. You know, I was a fairly naturally large, muscular guy and put on muscle pretty quick. And so most of my peer group, lots of times they'd be trying to get big, and I'd just be trying to stay small enough because I don't want to be over 200 pounds. Yeah. So, you know, we get there, we're throwing up the weights. I was like, okay, we'll put 200 on there. Like, what, 200? I was like, yeah, that's, you know.
On each side.
Yeah, I should be able to pick it up. So I was like, they throw it up, and I was like, oh, crap, I can't quite get it up. Like, okay, my good shoulder, I can do 100. My bad shoulder, I can only do 90. I was like, okay, right now I'm about 192 pounds, so that's fair enough. I can pick my own self up. We're good to go. From there, I went to the Tennessee River, and I've tubed the Tennessee River and felt a little tension, you know, in the shoulder, but I was like, and I actually backed off. I remember I was like, okay, it's going to get a little bit rougher down here. I probably should not push the shoulder. So I got off the tube, and I, you know, helped with the truck running gear. But I still did like 24 miles on a mountain bike, you know, like the next day. So, I mean, you know, I was ready to, you know, I'm good. I'm thinking I am. So after the spinal cord injury, in my head, I don't really know what a quadriplegic is fully. I know that it means I'm not going to be walking, but I ignorantly thought that a quadriplegic and a paraplegic were the same thing, that, you know, they have like hand function and stuff like that. Because, you know, in my life before that, for my creativity in my job, you know, being a audiophile, doing custom cars and things, you know, my art release was through my hands, you know, right. Building, constructing things. Like, I mean, I've been published for car audio, you know, back in the 90s, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I have that creative side, and that really, when you want to talk about a mental screw, or hello?
Oh, no, we're still here.
Okay. A mental kind of screwing with you, losing your, you know, dexterity to do things with your hands. That's that's going to be probably the deepest one. But as far as dealing with it mentally, emotionally, I've been tough, ready to go from. My whole thing was I need to get as strong as I can so I can be the best I can, I guess. I mean, like when I first got injured, I was very weak. I mean, I went from 192 pounds on that beach that day to 146 or something, you know. I was dead for a couple of days there. I mean, like they had to revive me 7-8 times, you know, so they couldn't, you know, there was no nutrition. They were trying to feed me and, you know, basically they're putting it in and it's going straight through and coming out. So, you know, so the first year, you know, there's a mental thing of you not knowing how to do anything, but me being very body aware before the injury, that helped a lot. I've gotten that compliment a lot throughout my recovery from different therapists and doctors and people that come along because they realized that I was just kind of the perfect candidate to deal with a spinal cord injury. I had a lot of body awareness and already taken a bunch of health science classes, so I was real medically aware and I'm real curious when it comes to things. Like that's where my geek is. I'm a real geek about anything I get into. I really go down into it. Like, you know, becoming a quadriplegic. That's when I really started investigating and found out, you know, the minutia between the paraplegia and the quadriplegia. Paraplegia is just, that means that their lower extremities, only 2 limbs, para, being 2, only 2 limbs are have paralysis, whereas quadriplegic, all 4. And in my case, that comes down to me not having fingers and wrist function. Like my wrist will move up, but I can't pressure them down type thing. You know, I have no hand grip per se. I say per se because there's something called tendinitis where your fingers kind of naturally curve. If you pull your wrist, say, back up towards the top of your arm, your fingers will naturally curve and close. That's called a tendinitis grip. So that's what quads use as their quote unquote grip. Because I got big paws, I can, you know, like a 32-ounce cup or something. But, you know, people see me a lot of times grabbing things and they think that I have, you know, grip or hand grip, but it's just because my paws are so large that I can wrap them around things.
I got you. Yeah, you got Stephen Hawking hands.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah, they're long enough to wrap around most things, and then the little bit of tendinitis that you can get, and if your hands are, you know, just the right amount of moistness, that's another issue. Apparently, paralysis affects your sweat glands and all that stuff. Like, you know, I have a problem heating and cooling my body. Sweat, you know, your body naturally sweats to cool itself. My body doesn't sweat to cool itself. It sweats because something's wrong or I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, has that ever caused any issues while on the trail? Well, either camping or hiking?
Not really. You know, we went at a time of year when it was fairly warm. So even when I was doing some sweating that didn't need to happen, you know, it kind of was in the right place, you know, to help you think about cooling the body, but it was doing it for the wrong reason. But no, you know, that's just that point that, you know, if you're sweating it out, you got to put it in type thing. So, yeah.
I think it's really impressive that with each injury, obviously the paralysis being the major one, but it sounds like you've played hard pretty much your whole life. And it sounds like with each injury or each obstacle you've approached it with, well, this is the situation. How am I going to get through?
Exactly.
And I think that's commendable because a lot of people, I think, get stuck, you know, just in general, get stuck when they have a problem that arises and they just can't figure out how to navigate it. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, you get stuck right in the middle of the problem and look at the side of the problem at where there may be a solution, a way around type thing. Like, especially when it comes to this paralysis thing. I mean, and me being a peer supporter, I deal with, you know, lots of people with injuries and the different way they deal with them psychologically, physically, mentally, the whole nine. And, you know, if they can't get over the psychological thing of, okay, I'm a quadriplegic now, and this is where I am. Let me be the best person I can now. They're never going to be able to really make it as a person in life. It's that they got to get past that physical thing of
acceptance is important.
Exactly. That acceptance of the physical of where they are now. It's because
it's not that big a deal. I mean, the bills are still got to be paid. You still got to get up, you still got to get after it type thing. So, I mean, it's, you're paralyzed. Your life is maybe from a wheelchair, but life is still the same. Everything's still happening around you that needs to happen, and you need to get after it and take care of those things.
Love it. It's a very realistic sort of optimism. It's not just optimism of like things are always going to get better. It's optimism of how you approach the situation, and instead of just, oh, things are always going to get better. Yeah. Like this is the reality. Let's make the best of it. I just love that approach. I think it's transferable to anything in life. Exactly.
Things can get better, and they do get better. But what about right now? How about the best of what we have right now? Let's not and where am I gonna get, or how can I get there? Because believe me, when I was at Shepherd, like if they wanted to find me and I was in room or in therapy, they knew to call the gym, because I was down there thinking that quadriplegia and paraplegia could be overcome. I just had to get as strong upper body as I could, and so yes, I did. I worked myself off to death to the point of muscle fatigue, and they'd be like, "You are pushing too hard." Yeah. You're pushing harder than where you are right now. Give your muscles a chance to keep up, to heal type thing. But I mean, I was so well known at Shepherd and active. Like if they had a trip that left the building and they had a seat, they would come find me and be like, "Do you want to go?" Because my answer was always yes. I didn't care what they were doing as long as I got out of the hospital to go. Because that meant I was going to see something different, get to test out because it's all about getting out of the community. It's all about getting back to life. They don't want you there trapped in the hospital. That's not what they asked you there for. They're there to get you rehab to be the best you that you can with the function you have.
So they said you were, had the right body awareness, the right physicality. Sounds like you had the right headspace too.
Yeah, definitely the right headspace. I mean, a lot of it does boil down to, let's be real. A lot of it does boil down.
So you mentioned something earlier too. You said during those first few weeks, nutrition was an issue because they, stuff would go in and just come right out the other end. People with spinal injuries have unique bathroom situations and procedures. How's that work on the trail?
It works like it all shit happens when you're born. So basically, you prepare for it, and we even went so far as to.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you dig a cat hole and you have a couple of guys hold you over it, or
I was getting there. We went to as far as creating a toilet seat, a portable toilet seat to carry with me that we could sit on the ground and have, and have a little thing, because I actually do a manual stimulation to get my bowels to go. So I need to be able to access my bottom end. But yeah, that's what we did. Yeah, we created that. And every 2-3 days, we would be to a resupply truck, and we tried to make it there, but there was definitely at least one accident on the trail. So, and you just deal with it there,
Get and roll with it, right?
Yeah, you just deal with it, clean it up, and keep moving. That's all there was to it. So,
so we have a survey on our Patreon about questions and topics that people are interested in, and poop talk is tied with gear talk. So
I'll bet it is.
Yeah, people who listen to this show want to know about poop for some reason, so I had to bring it up. But
people like their poop.
Yeah,
they don't like for people to know about it in public, but secretly everybody loves a poop story.
That's right. Everybody poops.
Everybody poops.
Booger guy says everybody poops. Yeah, can we talk about gear? Any special gear considerations? Your tent, your air mattress?
Lots of special gear considerations, especially like the thing that we keep glancing over about my quadriplegia temperature regulation. I don't have that. So, I honestly need to maintain between 72 and 86 degrees is like pretty much ideal. Anything below 72, I'm starting to get like, okay, I'm feeling cold. And anything over 86 is like,
I'm not feeling hot, but yeah, I'm probably hot and just don't realize it type thing, especially maintains. So that's your concern. That's why we chose kind of the fall when it was cool and all, but too cool that we lost all the water out there, but it wasn't hot summer. So, there's less chance of me really getting overheated. And it's a lot harder to warm than it is to cool me down. So we're trying to find a balance. So, but yeah, so as far as gear consideration, that was the biggest concern of that right there, just to kind of making sure that I'd be regulated. We actually took a wilderness bag and we put Cadora down the backside of it and we put straps on it so that for 2 occasions or 3 or any that might occur, that way we had a sleeping bag as a backup sleeping bag or as a carry bag in case, they need to get me out of the trail ride to maneuver or for safety reasons. Or if I needed to got cold or something, we could put the wilderness bag, put me in it and put me on the trail rider. But by having the straps on the side, it meant that, you'd be able to keep me in it and move me around and keep me warm, keep my body temperature up. So that's one thing there. And that's just that bag. And then like considerations for a tent, obviously we needed an ultralight tent and I needed a tent for me or whatnot. Even we had pretty much planned to try and go from shelter to shelter, which that turned out to be a bit far reach, dragging the trail rider through the trails. We should have went to as far as we made it in, like a day time and just went on the camp and did it like that, which, in future planning, that's definitely how we would plan it out. So the tent we looked for was a tent that had openings on both sides. So when people had to help get me in and out of that tent, they have access just through it instead of just trying to get me in one side of it type thing. That make it more difficult. Yeah. Yeah. And also we discovered, I'm highly spastic being with my quadriplegia, probably because I'm incomplete meaning that I do have something or type of movement below my injury that's controllable. But it also means I'm extremely spastic. And when you take me out of my perfectly coiffed wheelchair, I am just a spaz machine. And when I lay down to sleep, that happens all night. So at one point on Pine Mountain, I woke up down in the corner of my tent, up in the corner in my sleeping bag. So he's like, all right. So we had to put the little dabs on my air mat to keep it from sliding around and and then we eventually found like, my sleeping bag has actual tabs to kind of strap it to the air mattress. So yeah, between those and that kind of keeps me in place in the tent and the air mattress and the sleeping bag. So yeah.
I've got one more question, and after I ask this, I want to open up the lines for some of the listeners. If you don't want to ask your question, you can just type a question into the chat, and we'll read them. But after this, we're going to open up mics if you guys want. O'Ree, I was curious. One of the things that Megan and I have talked about before, just amongst ourselves and with other guests on the show, is about how the hiking and camping experience, in hiking in particular, helps bring peace to someone. It helps bring relaxation and calm. One of my favorite things to do is on the trails, just pick a random spot, like not even pick a random spot. It just kind of goes, oh, hey, Gary, come sit here. I'll find like a log or a rock and I just sit and be quiet and get that meditative, silent Zen time out in the woods. Since when you're on the trail now, you've got a whole crew with you. Do you ever just send the guys away and just be like, dudes, I need like 5 minutes, just, leave so I can meditate? Do you get that peace and calm out there, or is it always mainly a group experience?
It happened, especially like we get to camp, everybody kind of rolls off and, goes set up. So, like with first nighters, we got there to grab my air mattress, start blowing. It's like, dude, give me my air mattress. I can blow my air mattress up. I'm like, what else am I do? Just sitting here? It's like, so everybody gets there to kind of breaking off, get their gear up. So, yeah, you get those times of kind of your solace while you're doing it and then, while you're camped up. But, yeah, there was times definitely when there's a picture. I guess we had stopped and we were kind of had gotten up on the ridge, and there was a view out through a clearing, through the whole green tunnel there. We just really see the mountains off in the distance there from the ridge we're on. And I'm just kind of sitting there, and somebody took the shot like over my shoulder, and you just kind of see where I'm just, taking it all in because, hell, I thought I'd never be out there again, definitely not seeing that kind of view. And that was just definitely one of those moments where it's like, yeah, just kind of had a moment to zen out for sure.
Nice. All right, so we've got a question from Gamera, who's in the chat room. She asks, what else is on O'Ree's bucket list?
That'd probably be Golly or the new.
You're talking about whitewater rafting, right?
Yeah. I got a group of friends that are there. I mean, I've known whitewater since I was pretty much 18 or 19, been doing it and, enjoying it. But it's always about finding the right people that give you that certain feel, especially when I'm talking about, wanting to do something pretty life threatening. I like to know the kind of level of crazy and also the level of.
You're constantly one-upping yourself. What's next, O'Ree? Oh, I'm going to get injured even worse. Watch this.
Yeah, well, I've done it all. I mean, I'm a speed freak. I think life starts at 140. I mean, I've parachuted. I mean, a few weeks I'm going to go do some indoor flying. That's not quite as dangerous. I mean, you're in an air tube inside, but it's fun. I'll get to feel that weightlessness of not being, in a wheelchair. So that ought to be fun. Yeah.
Something not a lot of people do. So. Yeah,
exactly. And then, you being paralyzed, the whole weightlessness thing and makes it. That's what makes it cool to me. I like to be in water, like scuba diving. I really want to get scuba certified. And one of the guys on the trail with me, he's willing to do the disabled buddy learn it with me because it's I don't know why they just make it harder when you're a quad. When you're paralyzed, the certification is even harder. I'm like, really? Because I was almost certified right there before I got injured. I was like, oh man, but they still made me requalify as a paras quad, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's just one. Those are a couple things that you have to say if you talk about bucket list thing for sure.
So I put a picture up in the chat of you in a raft with a crew. That's not the same crew that you hike with. I mean, you've done all of these things that since. Yeah, where's this picture from? That you're what river is that?
August. This is just back last month. My birthday is end of July, and we were trying to go that weekend, but they had a bad storm come in, so we didn't go. So this is early August. But yeah, this is the two guys on the front of that boat are the owners of Akoi stand-up paddle and water sports. Yeah, and they run like class 5s out on Cripple Creek out west. Yeah, they're really good. My friend that is very back of the boat is captain of the boat. That's Trip Wrigley. He has been doing the Akoi for 20-something years, 30 years. He's an old river hippie, man. He's coincidentally the same guy I was talking about. I helped get started the open mic night. He's the one that I helped do that.
And actually, in this big water too. This is not just
class 3-4. This is class 3-4. This is the Akoi. This is where they ran the Olympic. Well, this is the lower section. They ran the Olympic whitewater course for kayaks on the upper section. It's a little tighter, a little faster, but this is the lower section. It's 5 miles of up to class 4 rapids. Yeah, and it's mostly class 3, few class 2s. But when we hit the rapids, we go out because this is a extremely experienced crew of rafters. So I mean, there's really no worries. In that boat, there's 3 rescue qualified paddlers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my best friend is actually in this raft. He'd never done anything like that in his life before, so that's the first time he got to do that. So that was kind of special. I actually was going to let it go when the storm passed through, but then he told me he'd never done it before. So I was like, all right, guys. So when's the next weekend we can do it? Type thing. Because for me, I've done the Akoi so many times. I mean, that was only my second time doing it as a quad, but it's the river's never the same. No river ever the same when you go down it. It's always different water. It's always a different rapid. It's never the same, so it's fun. But when I get to hit the rapid with these guys, it's completely different than when you're going out with like a outfitter or something. Wow. We go out, we hit the surf, we hit the waves, and we're getting up on them, we're surfing them, and we're what they call it, submerging the boat, where you get the water, where it's just about to flood under. Yeah, we're having a blast. Yeah.
You ever drink a beer out of a neoprene boot?
No, of course not. That would be against the law. But now there may have been a water ball that had rum in it accidentally.
Oh well, that's
definitely.
Yeah.
That's not too
They
bad.
might have got passed around the boat after we come through a few rapids.
I don't know if it. There was a tradition, Megan. I heard you kind of like give that questioning laugh, like, "What are you talking about?" There's white water. I don't know if it was just our gang that we hung out with, or if it's a thing among all paddlers. But if you had a gnarly swim, if you came out of your boat at the end of the river at the takeout, you would have to drink a beer out of one of your water shoes, like a neoprene boot. That's
They like whoever goes over that day or gets wet or something like that, you have to buy alcohol, and they all get back in. They're still doing that to this day. Okay. They have like a carnage party where they get the video together, and yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, we're talking the same language a little bit. I stopped whitewater paddling. Oh, I don't even know how many years ago, because I had an unpleasant swim on a Class 2 river, and now I'm listening to this guy and thinking I could get back in the kayaking. I just need to get a new helmet and a new paddle, and yeah,
gear's so good these days too. It makes it their gear is so great. It's crazy. Yeah, I got to see some of the guys out because they were. Kayaking event had just happened before, so some stragglers were still around, and then they had another one coming up in about a week. So people were hanging out, getting their skills up on that river because different. So even the same river you're on, it changes from the time you gun it the day before to the next day. So, but yeah, it's I can kayak, and we did actually went out and did a night paddle that Saturday before we did the river on Sunday. I got a way to rig up paddles that I actually learned, through Shepherd and all my, outdoor adventure skill classes and things with them. So, but it's about not just doing those outdoor adventure skills weeks, but going out and applying it in real world, where I get to, like we did that night paddle, everybody's getting the gear together and and at no point anybody even stopped to ask, like, is O'Ree going to paddle? And I was like, paddling. And so we show up, and I was like, don't worry about me, because I came prepared, because I was like, I knew we were going to be around water. We talked about maybe getting out and doing some paddling, so I basically brought my rugby pack with me. It's got a bunch of different stuff to rig up different things and everything in it. I kind of keep all my rigging gears together in it.
Yeah, right.
And so, all it really takes is like a couple of inner tubes. Take a couple of inner tubes, kind of running back and forth, create about 4 or 5, runs around the paddle, the paddle rung itself. And I take duct tape and put it on both ends of it, and that way you're able to lace your fingers and hands through it, and that creates a way for you to hold on to the paddle. But you're not duct taped to it in case something happens, so you can get out of it. Because that's important.
Yes. Yeah.
That's important. So yeah, we want to hold on to the T-handle so that no one loses their teeth, but we want to be able to let go of the T-handle in case we get stuck around a rock. Yeah.
Let's see. Incubest in the chat. Incubest. That's Daniel. Is asking if do you know who Stephanie Quarles is? And I don't. So,
I do.
Who is Stephanie Quarles?
Stephanie Quarles accompanied us on the Appalachian Trail, like the first weekend and the second weekend. She was able to accompany us. And actually, the year before, she went whitewater rafting with me on the Coe.
Oh, okay.
Not past year. Yes.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, she's been very active. She was just getting started in the hiking, and actually, I don't think she'd ever done a solo hike at that point. But she's now moved on to doing quite a few solo hikes. So she's on her hiking journey.
All right, I think we got time for one more question. Let's see. So Booger Guy in the chat wants to know: is there a smaller version of the Trail Rider that can be used by one So I'm not sure. So you mean pushed or carried by one person? That's like a smaller support crew. That's what he's asking. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not really going to happen. I mean, Trail Rider is 16 inches wide, like I said, at the seat base. And it's bare minimum for a man to be able to sit in it and someone to be able to pull it from the front and the rear. I mean, maybe you have to look at more pictures and you actually get an idea of what I'm talking about. Like, there's not a lot of extra space. The only extra space I'm talking about was the stuff gear that was between the tire and my legs up under where you're sitting. I mean, there's no wasted space in it.
I guess I'm picturing like one of those like off-road strollers that you sometimes see the soccer moms, they'll go running with their kid, like a little jogging stroller, maybe something like that. But
kind of looks like that in camp form, but that ain't going down the trail by no means.
But you need a friend who's like 12 feet tall to push it.
Yeah,
just
for
like
real.
One guy.
Yeah, because I mean, with the one tire, the guy in the back is balance and brakes, and the front guy is more offering your motor forward. But there comes times when that front guy may have to push down on the left or right to help create balance, while the back guy and the guy in the back is trying to get his footing type thing, So yeah, I mean, not safely. Like I said, we determined that safely you need a 5-man crew, because also not just when you get into situations of where you need the extra hands on, you want to be able to keep rotating people on and off of it. I mean, throughout the trip, we learned our call signs. We learned our rhythm as far as calling out bumps, so people would know when to expect to need to give an extra push, or where, calling out root, rock, and me trying to explaining to them how to step type thing. And then, learning that between 5 to 7 people on the team, you keep rotating them to keep fresh. Cause I mean, some people, they get a little bit overzealous and they're doing it because they want to help you, but they're getting tired and they don't realize it. And I'm sitting there watching their legs going weak and them starting to miss that. And I don't need you to break your ankle. I need you to still be able to walk and help. So, you have to stop and call people off sometimes because they're just too tired.
That makes sense. Okay, so Dog Rollin is your trail name, and that's Rollin without the G at the end because we're cool. We dropped the G. And okay,
with the name O'Ree. I mean, some kid back in high school one time he started calling me O-Dog. He's like O'Ree was like, he's always like that for like, is that like hyphenated for like oak tree? Because I was kind of I'm always strong, big and strong and fairly beefy. So he's like, what is that, like hyphenated for oak tree or something? I was like, no. He's like, start calling you O-Dog. I was like, all right, just kind of stuck, one of them things.
So when I go to odogrolin.com, that goes to your Facebook page.
Yeah, it's just linked to Facebook right now.
Okay.
Then I'm about to get in, rework it again. That probably turn it where it's got tags for those pages. Because it's time for the next adventure. I really want to. I want to do a road trip to kind of maybe see some of the sights of the AT up and down the coast.
Are you? You're in contact with Miss Janet, right?
Vaguely, not a lot. We have had conversations in the past. She did get in contact with us to try and use the Trail Rider, but that seemed to have fallen through.
Okay,
because that's one of the things. Remember that the Trail Rider is available for outback adventures. We definitely want it to get some use. Don't want it to keep collecting dust.
For sure.
Although I think it had more mileage than I have, because when it came time for Trail Fest this year, I had to, about 3 weeks out when they called me, I was like, oh, come on. I was like, I had to put out a message, be like, oh, where's the Trail Rider?
So if people want to follow you and watch you on these adventures, where can they go?
odogrolin.com. That's going to be the best place to kind of keep up with all my adventures. It's going to link you to all my Facebooks, Instagram, Twitter, anything out there. Pretty much you can find me at Dog Rollin.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's O'Ree, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. It always is. I love hanging out with you. I love talking to you. You're like I said, you're an inspirational guy. The chat room is just filling up with comments of people saying, I'm inspired. You're really making people, you're making people think about doing good things and actually do good things. So,
Yeah, I want people to treat me like I treat them, or I try and treat people like I want to be treated. If they need a hand, I want to give it to them. I ain't got either. I don't have either hand, but I'll do the best I can. So.
There you go.
We always want to, help others, because none of us in the world by ourselves. We all need help every now and then with something. So,
yeah, cool.
If you help them, by all means, do it.
Well, thanks again. It's been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed our time. So thank you very much. And this is why I always fade out the end of the show, because I don't really know how to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
how do we sign off? Just remember, guys, check me out at olddogrollin.com.
Yeah.
We're going to get out, have some more adventures, and everybody get out there, have fun, get off the couch, see some nature, let Mother Nature know we still love her.
Do it.
Love it.
Nice.
Hey! Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are me, Gary Sizer, a.k.a. Green Giant, and Megan Thompson, a.k.a. Voldemort. Our music is by Lee Rosevere. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review wherever you download the show. And of course, please consider supporting the show by visiting patreon.com/storiesfromthetrail. The show is recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Gary Sizer, here at Blanket Fort Studios, which is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening.
Well, I just ate a ribeye, and I think I've got the meat sweats.
Oh, Lord, the meat sweats. I hear you.